views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDBTV.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
We should do this. We should do this more often. You ready?
Sure.
You ready? Are you here today?
Shocked really.
You got something going on? You okay?
I'm getting shocked really hard.
I'm sorry. Okay. Never
I'm
mind.
having a rough day.
Gotcha. So. Okay. Okay, let's start this. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Here we are again. Even in spite of all your cards and letters, we're still going to try this another week. Welcome, Bianca. Welcome,
you.
Dirk. So who wants to start?
So we're starting whether they like us or not?
Yeah, the hell with them. This is our show. We can do what we want. We can say what we want, right?
Good point.
Okay.
Good point.
All right, you want to start us off?
That's right. Yeah, and I just want to thank all the people who aren't watching, and come back and not watch next week. All right. Okay, so I said before this show started that one of the things I wanted to talk about was the detention centers that we've got all along the border for the immigrants, and how they are actually for-profit enterprises. So
Yeah, I did not know that.
I did not either at first. And then what happens is, perfect example. Okay, I've been in construction most of my life. And one of the things that we always, when you knew an inspector was coming out to the job, the one thing that you always did was make sure the job site was clean. And all of the stuff on the surface looked good. Because if they find something wrong, they're going to start digging. And the more they dig, the more they're going to find wrong. So you want them to have a good first impression. Well, every time I see something like this, I start digging, and it's like, okay, well, is that true? You know, and then you start going further and farther down the rabbit hole, and you realize, holy crap, this is a for-profit organization or enterprise. That's the more people that get in there, the more these companies make. And where is the money going, and who is behind these? You know, where's the money that they're making? Who's getting them? And then that rolls over to what we were talking about, the for-profit prisons. And you were saying, what about the agreements that most of these places have with the states?
Yeah, a lot of the agreements are that if you don't have a certain level of prisoners,
Inmates.
yeah, I was trying to think of the word, like you know, hotel.
Guests.
No, not that, but a level of
Occupancy.
Occupancy.
There you
Thank
go.
you. That's what I was
Yes.
trying to think of. If you don't have a certain level of occupancy, these companies can literally sue the states or the government entities they have agreements with for millions of dollars for not having enough prisoners in there. So
Right.
that's why it behooves all the cities and the counties and the states to always make sure that so when you look at it from that standpoint, from that back end, and you start traveling forward,
Right.
now you understand why so many people are now being arrested because they had a ticket that they didn't pay, and it was like
Right, because
$50 that they couldn't pay. They put them in jail. Why they put them in jail? They have to have the occupancy up.
So basically, the states and cities and jurisdictions are the sales and marketing department for these for-profit prisons. Just, how did we get there? How did we get to this?
Well, one of the biggest problems that we did, one of the worst mistakes we ever did, was when the cities started counting on the revenue from tickets.
Yeah.
And from fines. And that started it off. And then somebody came up with the idea, it's like, well, it costs so much money for the government to do this and to do that, and so maybe we need to start privatizing this stuff. But I have always felt that a lot of the privatization that goes on in whether it's in education or law enforcement, stuff like that, has always been to make somebody more money.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't to make the system better, because I haven't seen any proof over the years that privatization has made something better than it was before.
Right.
It might be different in some ways.
No, it's more profitable.
It's more profitable,
And that's
but
the
I
bottom
haven't
line.
seen any examples of, and I'm not
Less
saying
repeat
that,
offenders or
right,
things like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it hasn't happened. I'm just
Right.
saying I haven't seen anything that shows me that when you privatize something and the government gives it up, that the privatization has made it a better system.
Right.
In a lot of cases, it's actually made it a lot worse, like this thing that we're talking about, because you've actually created now a more of a demand to put people in jail that really shouldn't be in jail, and it's affecting so many other areas of life, sociology-wise, psychology-wise.
Right.
And it's also somebody can make some extra money in their pocket. I don't.
Well, and basically that's what it's come down to. The money has become more important in this country and to too many people than anything else.
Yeah, you can bail yourself out for ridiculous things, like things that you would think we would keep somebody in jail until they have some sort of a hearing.
Exactly.
But you can pay your way out for really, really fucked up things.
Yeah.
So
But
that
you get a speeding ticket and you're a poor person.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
totally screwed.
okay,
But
and,
know,
and,
if
and
you've
so
got-
let's take
if
that a
you've
step.
got the cash, you can do some
Right.
pretty wild
Well,
stuff.
You can buy
and-
your
Well,
you
here's
can buy
the-
your way out.
We have this thing that we call it in Metro, we call it Class 2, which means is if I stop you and I decide I'm going to give you a ticket and then you piss me off, I can literally arrest you for a misdemeanor, take you to jail, and they'll release you after they process you in
Right.
jail. It's called Class 2. And so if you have somebody who's really a pain in the ass and or they don't want to cooperate or they don't want to sign the ticket and you don't think that they're going to take care of
Show
the
up or whatever,
situation,
yeah.
then you can Class 2 them, and now they're in the system. They have the fingerprints taken and stuff like that. So you can do all that kind of stuff. But when you do that to a person who's like right on the edge of not having any money, to feed his kids,
Sure.
or to feed her kids, or something like that, you've just now put him in a position where he may not be able. If he chooses to feed his kids, he can't bail himself out of jail.
Right.
He can't bail himself out of jail. He loses his job.
Yeah.
If he loses his job, now he really can't feed his kids, and he can't get out of jail. Just crazy stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. Somebody can go out and kill somebody or rape somebody, and they'll be out the next day because they can post bail.
Or
Right, and are they
or
gonna
they'll
show-
they'll only get a 6-month sentence.
And are they going to show up to court after they've been released on something like that?
Exactly.
No, but they paid their way out of jail, and so who cares?
And honestly, in most cases, they don't have to because they just hire their lawyer and says, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I pleaded this. It's good."
Yeah.
I mean, I had somebody attempt to break into my house and was arrested. Was arrested with some real a duffel bag full of some really interesting things. He was arrested. He went downtown and he was out by the end of the day because he was able to pay. He didn't show up for an arraignment afterwards because he didn't have an arraignment while he was in jail.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like he showed up the next morning or anything, but there were more hearings scheduled. He didn't show up to any of them. There's a warrant for him now. But he's not gonna go turn himself in.
Right. He's not that civic minded.
Right. Yeah, the things that he had with him were completely terrifying. But he had the money.
Say, let him go.
It's almost like, I know this is kind of reaching, but it's almost like if you're a reasonably honest person and you're trying to do the right thing, you just don't happen to have any money, you're fucked. I mean, you're screwed. I mean, I watched, and I put off doing this, but I watched that, How They See Us. I don't know if you've seen that yet or not. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's we don't believe that shit's going on, and it's going on right in front of us. And I mean, that was just one instance of shit that's going on every single day, and to all of us. And it's, I mean, how long did those guys spend in jail? 10, 12 years? 15 years?
No, I think it was longer than that. I think
Was it?
20 years.
20 years? And look at you're seeing it on the news almost every day. After 33 years, so-and-so was found not guilty, after, didn't commit crime. This woman stepped forward and said, no, I made that story up, or all of this shit. And we have lost that empathy or compassion for our fellow human beings. And it's like, hooray for me and screw you. I don't care. As long as I got mine.
We could literally probably have a whole show on.
I know. I'm
just
sorry.
Because I think what the issue is, and this is the one thing that upsets me more than anything else about that. When you look at these cases, like in Chicago and New York, where you find these police, and the one where the guy just recently went to prison in Florida, when you have guys that are fabricating charges against people,
Yeah.
and putting them in jail, and they're being hailed as this one detective in Chicago I think was the single most decorated detective they had in Chicago's history. And it turns out that he and his guys literally put over 100 people in prison for stuff that they didn't do. They forced them to confess to things,
Right.
and put them in jail. And so they had to vacate all those arrests. They had to go back and check all the different arrest reports and stuff like that for everything that these guys were involved in.
Right, everything
we're
they
talking
touched.
hundreds of people.
And I think that's why, or the excuse that a lot of the prosecution says about, well, yeah, maybe they did half a dozen guys, but there's 20 that did do what they said they did, and we're going to have to let them go, so let's not make a big deal out of this. And that's the bullshit.
And see, I almost would be okay with that.
Oh, I would.
Yeah, I'd almost
would.
be okay.
Because
my problem is that basically what they've done is they said, we want to solve this real quick, we want to look good, and we're going to put this guy in prison. Okay, so what they did was, the Central Park Five, they find these 5 kids, they force them to confess, they put them in prison.
Right.
But here's the problem that I have. The real fucking criminal was still out there.
And to this day has never been found.
No, they found it.
Oh, they did? Okay.
They found it.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The guy that confessed. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
And in a lot of these cases, that's happened.
Right.
So when people sit there and tell me, well, black people are just they're just more criminal minded. They're always getting arrested. They're this, that, and the other. And I just sit there and look at them like, really?
And
have you looked at the stats from down south and how many because we've been saying this for a century.
Yeah.
Black people have been saying this all the time, and white people say, no, please, man.
Yeah.
You guys just, if you wouldn't be stealing stuff all the time and look at, and they always say, look at Chicago, look at all the people you're killing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's not the only city in the United States. There's a whole bunch of other cities, and proportionately, the black people are more people that are in prison.
But
Now,
if you don't use your turn signal, you might be
exactly.
completely screwed.
the Sandra Blunt,
yeah,
the perfect example.
The charges against the officer who arrested and brutally, just brutally
55
beat her.
shots.
I guess this week, I think the charges were dismissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was justified. The shootings were justified.
Well, there was.
Which case are you talking about?
I'm talking about Sandra Bland.
Wait.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
The question that you just asked
Yeah.
is what tells me there's something fucking wrong here.
Right, and that was in
something's
Texas.
wrong
Well,
when you have to ask that this is the norm. It's not the exception.
The
And-
very
and-
first thing that they said when with Sandra Bond was that, well, if she had shut her mouth and she'd have done. Do you know how many times I've stopped somebody and they mouthed off to me?
Oh, it's legal to say fuck you or whatever you want.
They just go off, and it's not black people that normally did it. I'm just speaking as a police officer.
Right.
When I was a police officer, usually black people were very respectful to me, but everybody else.
Well,
like,
because it's a
why-
lot scarier.
Yeah, what the fuck are
to
you
deal
stopping
with
me
an
for?
officer.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
Why aren't you out there arresting the real criminals?
But yeah, exactly. I get that. I got
know.
that a lot. The point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't make any difference whether she was a smart ass or not. It was a ticket that he was going to give her, and we don't know if what he said was really true.
Right. Because
He said,
Well, no, I mean he wasn't even like he wasn't being tried. He hasn't been
yeah,
charged or anything. Yeah.
for anything.
Well, they
like
did-
as
they
far
did
as
found
as,
some additional
as far
tape
as
from his
violent,
car.
and from hers.
Right.
It wasn't. He wasn't being charged for beating her.
Right.
He was being charged.
even though he
for,
did.
Right.
I mean, basically,
But-
when he threw her down on the ground when her
Oh, yeah,
when she was handcuffed.
Right.
But
that's not what he was
Right.
being charged with.
But we
He
don't
was-
know if he, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because they always have an excuse. I mean, if you want an excuse, you literally, we used to tell everybody all the time in the academy, if you're driving down the street, and even if you're a cop and you know the laws, there's a good possibility you can drive one block and you can still commit some kind of
Right.
infraction that I can pull you over for.
Right.
Okay. Really. So, but
But
But,
this goes back to the inspectors.
But a lot of these cases,
they can always
right,
find something
right,
wrong.
Exactly.
If they really want to, they can find something wrong or something that you've done or because we're human.
and I'm not trying. So I'm not trying to make this whole thing about race and stuff like that. But basically, what I'm
But
saying
it
is
is.
that when they're saying that, well, these people shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. Well, when you look at why they were originally pulled over, most of the time it was because they were black and they were driving in a car.
Right.
And the case of the guy that got shot in the butt, he's a black man. He's driving down the street, and I don't remember what state it was in. I think it was one of the Midwestern states. He's driving down the street. Police officer claims that he didn't have a seatbelt on, so he pulls him over. The guy pulls into a gas station, and they have it on tape.
Right.
And he's very respectful. He's talking. The guy's telling him what he needs to do. He says, and he finally looks at him. He says, "I need you to get your driver's license and your vehicle registration out of your car." And he turns around to get it. The guy shoots him in the ass.
Yeah. I remember
And he's
that.
literally laying over his seat. He's like, "Why did you shoot me?" He says, "Well, I thought you were going for a gun." He says, "You asked me to get this stuff." And so,
and I'm laughing, but believe me, it's not. It's not funny.
and this is what they've been complaining about for decades,
Right.
which is these people are stopping us for no reason. They're making up reasons to stop us, and then it turns into a tragedy. And then they try to make it look like, well, you guys are just more criminal.
But how do we? I mean, how long did you spend on the force at Metro?
20 years.
20 years. Okay, so you've come across it all in this town. How do we turn that around? Because it's up to you as an individual police officer. How do we get better screening, better education, better what?
Yes.
Or you
All
know,
that.
how long do you have to go through the academy?
Used to be 18 weeks.
Okay. Is
I
that
don't,
enough
I
time?
don't know what it is now.
Is that enough time?
I honestly, when I ran for sheriff, we were talking about that, and I honestly think that the problem is not the length of time; it's what you're teaching them.
Exactly. I agree with that.
I think I think there's better training methods where you can teach them more information in less time, and they'll retain it better.
But what is the focus of the training?
Well, I mean, you're teaching them about laws and how to write reports and all that stuff, and then you teach them about obviously with weapons training
Right.
and
Yeah.
the tools that
obvious
you
stuff.
have to use for the job.
But how
there's-
much time is devoted to interaction between people?
Minimal.
And that's where
Minimal.
I'm thinking would
And I don't
be
even know what it's like now because
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking when I went through the training
20 years
was
ago,
in- Yeah, it was longer than that. It was
okay. Oh, I
87.
forgot how old you were. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 87.
Wow.
So, I honestly think that it was funny when I was in recruiting for 3.5 years, and women would come in and they'd say, I'm going to pick up an application for my boyfriend or my dad or my brother or my husband. And I said, well, why don't you take one? Oh, I can never be a cop. I go, what do you mean? Well, they're all big and strong and they're tough and they're this and that. And I look at it and I said, stop right there. I said, the most important thing about being a police officer is how you communicate to people.
Yeah.
If you know how to communicate with people and you understand conflict management, we'll teach you everything else you need to know. We'll put the muscle on you.
Right.
We'll teach you how to use the weapon. We'll teach you all that stuff. But the difference between really good cops and the bad cops, when a good cop walked in, he listened. He talked to people. He understood what was going on.
Right.
And he got a lay of the land before anything happened.
He didn't have a preconceived notion of what was going on.
I'm not saying that because sometimes
Okay.
you can't help because things look a certain way
Right.
and you have to react a certain
Well,
way.
that's just like the
But what I'm saying
the good
is
guy
that-
and the bad guy with
Right.
the gun.
But
You
you
walk
have
into
to
a
take
place,
the
how do
time.
you know which one's which if they both have guns?
Yeah, but you have to be able to have the ability to stop and assess things and talk to people. If it's not a full-blown riot, listen to people,
Yeah.
just talk to them, and you can usually figure out what's going on.
Well, and when you walk into a situation like that, I mean, it's already the emotions are already high. And I hate to say this, I'm going to get killed for saying this, but in the summertime here, it's hot as hell, and people are already pissed off.
No,
So-
that's true. That is
so,
true.
Uh,
We knew at the wintertime when we went out, the criminals weren't going to be on the street because
Yeah.
they don't want to be out in the cold.
yeah,
I mean, all those things are true, but to not have the ability to walk into a place and sometimes I've been called, you name it, I've been called it.
yeah,
On duty with other police officers there, with other people there, it didn't make any difference. People call me some of the most vile, insulting things, and I got it from both sides.
Right.
Because to white people, I was the N-word.
Right.
To black people, I was the Uncle Tom.
Uncle Tom,
So I mean, not so much.
Right.
Because I treated people with respect, but I mean it was, but I got it from everybody. If I went off on everybody that called me a name,
you wouldn't have lasted very long.
I wouldn't have lasted very long. I'd probably be in jail.
Yeah,
And so you just sit there and you listen to them. And so funny story along those lines. I walked in. This is when I was a detective with sexual assault, and we had this guy who was he had some kind of sex offense going on, and we thought he had some child pornography or some kind of pornography in his house. So we had to go in and we had to search his house. So we walk in. As soon as this guy sees me, he says, "I'm not letting that nigga arrest me.
right.
That's not going to happen." And the guys who were with me, they were all saying, I said, "Don't worry about it. It'll be fine." So they started doing their stuff, and he's just going off and calling me all kinds of names and trying to be as nasty as he possibly could. And I'm just looking around, helping the guys do the search and everything. And so finally I look over and I go, "You read this book right here?" And I can't remember what it was about. It was I was in the Air Force, so I'm pretty sure it had something to do with aviation,
Right.
or flying or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, I got that book at home." He looked at me. His eyes popped like this.
You can read?
What? No. He wasn't just shocked that I could read, but
Yeah.
that I had read that book.
Right.
And so he asked me a couple questions, because he probably figured I was
Right.
lying about it. And I answered him, and he was like, everything changed at that point. I was his best buddy now.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not just the N-word. I'm an educated guy who understood him.
Right.
And he looked at all the other cops as if, well, they're just basically your goons, your typical goon cop
Right.
that come
Right.
in. And so when they were ready to take him out, Detective Thomas is going to arrest me. This is his case.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't let anybody else arrest him but me.
Yeah. And
So-
I understand that. I've been in similar situations. So,
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if you listen and you talk to people, a lot of times you can find some
find a
common ground
right.
where you can work things out.
Were you ever a hostage negotiator?
I trained for it, but no, I was never really in one
Yeah.
like that.
What do you mean by similar situations?
This was long time ago. I'm a Vietnam vet. So, and everybody knows I've been in construction all my life. I had to go out to a job site on a Saturday because Monday the power company was coming to lay cable in these trenches that we had dug. And before they can do that, we have to put a bed of sand, 6 inches of sand, in these trenches. So I had trucks scheduled for Saturday to come out and dump the sand so it'd be ready for Monday morning. So I took my son with me, who at the time was probably 13, 14 years old, just for the heck of it. Oh, and I had just had lung surgery. I was just back to work after having part of my lung taken out. And so I was cleared to go back to work, but I wasn't in any kind of shape to really do much. So everything's going okay, and we're there a couple hours, and this one driver just really was having a tough time getting the truck backed into where it needed to be. And I was getting frustrated, and it was hot. And so I jumped up on the truck, on the window, and I said, hey, if you can't drive this truck, get the fuck out, I'll do it myself. So he pushes the door open, knocks me off the truck. The guy gets out. He's about 11 and a half feet tall, big, huge, kind of a biker-looking dude, got the beard and all that crap. And he's like getting on me. And I look over his shoulder, and my son's standing back there, and he's got a shovel in his hand. He's going to knock this guy on his ass with the back of the head with the shovel. And the guy says to me, "Don't fuck with me. You don't know where I've been." I said, "Well, it couldn't have been any worse than Chulai." And he goes, "Dude, were you in country?" I said, "Yeah, 1966, 67. He goes, "Oh, man," starts hugging me, and my son's standing back there, and he's going,
What happened?
"What did you," because he didn't hear what we were talking about. And later he goes, "So what did you say to him?" How, and it was just that shared experience, and that's something that we had in common, that he gets back in the truck and he goes, "Dude, where do you want this dirt? I'll put it any fucking where you want it." So it's that way of communicating that find that common ground, and sometimes you have no idea where it's going to come from. So anyway, that's my story.
Okay.
Now let's
I
hear
thought you
yours.
were saying that somebody called you the N-word a bunch.
Oh,
There are worse
No,
things.
it actually
there are
called-
worse things
To me
than
all
that.
the
he called me a cracker.
There are worse
So-
things than that. I used to talk to these kids all the time, and they would tell me when I'd go to high school, that was part of the recruiting thing. And I'd sit down and I'd talk to him, and the guy says, "Well, yeah, I kicked this guy's ass." And I go, "Why? You got suspended from school, right?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What happened to that guy?" "Nothing." He says,
Yeah.
"Well, what did he called me the N-word." I go, "Man, it's a word.
That's
It's a word.
That's what kind of breaks my heart.
Words only have as much power as you give them. And so if you allow if somebody knows that word is powerful to you, they can use it to manipulate you anytime they want, to get you riled up. And honestly, I found that on the job, that when people call me that word or any of the other insulting things they have for black
Right.
people, and I didn't respond to them, it messed them up.
Yeah.
Because they were so used to having a certain response. And then they call you that name, and you just look at them like,
That's it. Well, you're old enough to remember Lenny Bruce, right?
yeah.
Okay, and that was basically what he was all about, is that we give these words power.
Right.
And by giving them power, we need to take it away. We need to not respond to it and just,
Yeah, I used to tell the kids.
I mean, I
it was very
understand why
simple.
you say it because most people will say words like that or whatever because they want to elicit a response.
That's right.
They want your
They
reaction.
want your
Right.
reaction,
And then
the
it gives them an
interesting thing-
excuse.
The interesting thing about all that, though, is that when you understand the power of words, and people say those things to you and you don't let them affect you, you have now changed. You've now flipped the script on everything that they thought that they could do.
Right.
And it's really interesting looking at the reaction that they're in their faces when he didn't react that way. No, I'm not saying that.
And it's not going to work all the time.
I'm not saying I'm not saying the word's not insulting to me. But that word told me more about you when you used it than it did about me when you called me that. And that's the other thing they don't understand. The words that I used to tell the kids all the time, the words that you use are very important to other people. But you have to understand that a lot of times the words you use tell that person more about you.
Right. Well, you know that they've used that word to try to hurt you in some way. So, and I was thinking about this when I was watching that show, the How They See Us. And I thought to myself, when I was younger, my grandfather was pretty much of a bigot. I mean, he made no bones about it. And so I grew up in that environment. My mom and dad, not so much. My dad was pretty cool, but you some of that sticks to you, and you find yourself, or I found myself in my younger days, saying things and doing things that, not that there was any intent, but it's like that's the crowd that you hung out with, and that's what you did. And until we can break away from that, it's like
you mean just
locker
using
room talk.
pejoratives?
Yeah, and all of the different words that we had for black people.
Right.
And you probably know more of them than I do, but and it was just because it was cool to talk that way, and you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
And you probably understand that too, being a woman, that there are things that men say to you that not necessarily.
Oh, I get called a dumb beaver all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't look Jewish. I don't look Jewish, so
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten much of that. But
there's
sure, I've had a lot of people say whatever.
And there's so many other things that they could say to a woman that are, or to anybody, that are so insulting, but they're not using dirty words. They're not using slang words.
Right.
One of the things that I know that almost all my female friends hate, they fucking hate it. Why don't you smile more?
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Here's my problem. I'm a toucher, and I'm always doing stuff like that.
Don't hurt him.
Yeah, no. but it's like I will start to reach out sometimes and stop myself because it not that I'm. It's not, I don't know, it's just something that I've always done, whether it's a man or a woman. So that's the only thing that in my head, that when I do it, that I justify.
Yeah,
Would I do that?
I'm a hugger too.
Yeah,
so
and
we're from that.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Era.
Yeah. And it's like I always ask myself, would you have done that if that was a man? And if I say yeah, then I'm okay with it. But if I say no, I wouldn't have done that.
Well, I got lucky in a lot of ways. I got 4 daughters.
Oh.
So I got an education.
Yeah, no shit. Real quick.
So I'm a lot more sensitive and a lot more understanding, I think, of those things than most guys are.
Right.
But the problem that bothers me about guys is that we grew up with these patterns. We grew up with this language, this common language we use because those are the people we hung out with, blah, blah, blah. Dude, everybody's got to evolve.
Okay.
So at some point, you got to understand, and I hate it when they talk about this feminism, this and feminine. No. They're asking for you to treat them in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Just like you would expect some other guy walking in off the street to treat you in a respectful way.
Yes.
That's all they're asking for. If they're asking for more than that, that's something you guys can talk about and negotiate or whatever. But common human decency, no, that's not negotiable.
Right.
Leave them the fuck alone. If they don't, if you go up and you want to put your arms around her, that's a no-no.
Right.
If you want to tell her she has to smile more, that's a no-no. You would never tell a guy that. And so my
right?
I know.
No, nobody ever.
My attitude is that if it's not something you would tell a guy.
There was a meme that was going around. If it was if you wouldn't say it to a man in prison, don't say it to a woman.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah,
fair.
that pretty much sums it up. But
I had a friend, somehow just feminist and feminism came up, and the fact that I consider myself a feminist, like, completely threw this guy. It was like you're a conservative, you can't be a feminist, and like, why would you, like?
yeah, that I know.
He just thought, I don't even know what he thought that meant, but we had to sit down at the whiteboard for over an hour before he actually.
Let me explain this to you, Lucy.
That's woman-splaining, right?
Jason Weinman was there.
Oh, yeah.
And we sat down at the whiteboard and explained to this dude like what that meant, and I don't know. I was kind of just.
You bring up a
I was
really good
blown
point,
away.
though. You bring
He
up
was blown away too, though.
a very good point about something that I've always wanted to talk about on this show.
Then here we go.
Okay.
We got time.
And that is, there's a lot of people that use terms, they don't know what the fuck those terms mean.
Yeah.
Socialism, communism, feminism. You guys don't know what that shit means.
That's exactly right.
It's a trigger word.
Yep.
You get upset. You get pissed off. You're ready to fight somebody for
patriotism.
But you don't. Yeah. But you
Right.
don't know what it means.
Wait. You don't support the president, you're not a patriot.
Right.
And never mind.
Especially coming from the same people that were talking shit about Obama
Yeah.
for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
And
The most important thing about this country is to be critical of the government.
yes.
It doesn't make you not a patriot.
it's
insane.
a duty.
Yeah.
It is a duty. I mean, it is something you learned that in the military, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're critical of the government, guess what? You know what that means? You're fucking paying attention.
Yes.
So
I mean,
all
that's
these
how
people that don't want to
that's
be critical,
how we became a
exactly.
country.
So all
is
these people
being
that,
critical of your government.
literally
Yes,
how we became
exactly.
a country.
It's
Right.
literally
It's the
exactly
whole
what
purpose.
we started on.
Yeah. And I just find it absolutely amazing that the people will sit there and tell you, well, you're not supposed to criticize the government. How's it going to get better?
That's right. That was you remember this, my country right or wrong, bullshit, or if you don't like it, get out. No, we can be better.
That's why they hated
We
the hippies
were
so
better.
much.
That's why they what?
That's why they hated the hippies so much.
Oh yeah.
My country right or wrong, bullshit.
Yeah.
You're wrong, fix this shit.
That's right.
And they didn't want to fix it. So what did they do? Kent State.
Yep.
Just
And that's the other thing. Banning protests, making protests illegal. That's some downright bullshit.
well, a lot of
right
that had
there.
to do with the Standing Rock.
Right.
So, we talked about this before. I mean, I understand. Yeah, if our crews can't go in there and do what they're supposed to be doing, you're costing us millions of dollars every day. I get that.
But if what
the
you're
reason-
doing is wrong,
Right. The reason they were protesting is because they knew that what happened just recently,
Yeah.
earlier this year, was going to happen.
Yeah.
And now they got oil all over Indian land because you didn't want to put it in some other area where rich white people were.
Right.
But now we're going to make sure that doesn't happen at all. This way we can screw over everybody we want to, and if they protest it, we can put them in jail too. Going back to your other subject, brother, do you know who has a vested interest in those for-profit prisons?
Most of your congressmen, senators, anyway, who?
Betsy
No.
DeVos.
Oh, hell yes, yeah. Don't, yeah.
So it's just really fascinating.
And I love science fiction. Read science fiction all my life, and I remember a
living
short
it now.
story. Pardon me.
We're living it now.
Yeah, I remember a short story where you had to be. You could not. Well, no. It wasn't a law, but if you were out after dark and just walking down the street on a nice stroll, I mean, you've done that, or just out to get some fresh air and stuff like that, you'd get pulled over. In the story, and you would get fined, and the judicial system for punishments for certain crimes were, we'll take one of your kidneys and use it in a transplant for somebody who has money. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So the level, in other words, if you committed murder, okay, we're going to take all your organs and, you know, give them to somebody else. Now, if you commit, and the level at which you met that threshold kept getting lower and lower and lower and lower, you know, to where if you got pulled over for a traffic violation, chances are you might lose an eye, you might lose a kidney, you might, you know,
Right.
one of those things. And that's the way I see for-profit prisons, is that it's not that far out. You know, and now I don't know if you've seen all of the the stuff that's going out that because there are less and less migrant workers to come in and work the fields. Now we're using prisoners.
Yeah. Well, they've been using them for a long time.
Yeah, but
And
I mean,
people were
it's
saying this is
right.
just another way of.
Oh yeah,
of
we have been
reinventing-
putting out our fires.
It's slavery
Yeah.
reinvented.
Right.
That's basically
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. So
And
We have them doing really dangerous things.
no shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that really bothers me is that
And only paying
when
them
they
a very small amount of money, and not volunteer fire department. You know,
Right.
goes out and fights these fires.
right.
They have no
Well,
medical
they had a really
benefits.
good article about that. They were showing these guys that were from the prison. That
Right.
some of them got killed. You know,
Yep.
I mean, they did very heroic things while they were fighting those fires,
Right.
man. And they
for like 13 cents an hour
they
or
didn't
something.
pay shit.
Right, and they had no medical insurance. If they get hurt, that's too bad. You know, so
Yeah,
the fuck is wrong with you?
I think one of the things that really upsets me the most about this particular administration is that the more I look into these people and what they're doing, the more you see that they're making money. They're literally stealing money from the government.
The guy who is
You
now
know,
going
like
to head
Mitch
up the
McConnell, the Mitch McConnell thing with
And
his
his
wife
wife,
Elaine Chao.
the guy that's heading up the Health and Human Services is the same one that
Yeah.
that was busted for cheating Medicare,
Right.
defrauding Medicare, and those are the people that are being put into these offices.
But I'm
To-
not even talking about what
to-
they did before they got in. I'm talking
Right.
about people that are literally doing this shit right now, and people are
And
still saying, well, it's
dismantling-
okay.
Right, dismantling these organizations.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in L.A. when the smog was so bad that you couldn't see the Hollywood sign up on the hill. You know, and because of the EPA and because of some of the restrictions and some of the air has gotten a lot better.
Right.
You know, I mean, we still have our moments, but and so.
But
I don't know.
the thing is, I'm not trying to make this political per se. You know, I hate this administration. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand that, and I understand he brought these people in to dismantle stuff like that. That may or may not be a good thing.
Right.
I personally think it's a horrible thing, but I understand why some people would care about that. But I'm talking about people that are in office that are literally doing illegal shit right now that's against the fucking law
And profiting from
and
it.
profiting from it.
Right.
And people are like, well, you know, that's okay. Let
But
us
you
slide.
know that's and the one that I love is, well, that's why I voted for him, because I wanted a change, and we're getting a change. Yeah, dude, you're not going to live through it. You know, it's yeah
It's insane.
So it's
Insane.
okay to lie. It's okay to cheat. It's okay to steal. That's what we're telling. That's what we're telling our kids, our grandkids, the kids that are
Exactly.
coming up, and we're taking their education away from them.
You know, somebody brought up a really good point. A few weeks ago, they were talking about we were just dogging millennials. You know, 'cause that's everybody likes to
Yeah.
do that. And somebody
Thanks a lot,
basically-
guys.
But somebody just basically said millennials weren't the ones that are causing the problem.
That's right.
Millennials are the result of all the shit that we did.
That's right.
That was
That's
messed
exactly
up.
right.
Because the baby boomers, they said they were the worst. I actually had that book at home, The Worst Generation.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that basically set all this shit that's in motion right now. And it's one of the reasons why this country has just steeped itself in so much selfishness.
Right. Well, you
I'm
used
getting
to be
mine,
able to.
fuck you.
Right. If you had even a minimum wage job at some point in our history, you could at least take care of yourself. You could rent an apartment. You could buy your food. That ain't happening today.
You can rent an apartment.
Yeah. I mean, you can't now.
No.
I mean, it's just you don't make enough money to pay the rents. So anyway.
Yeah, that was a really fascinating book when they talked about.
But
how-
getting back to the millennials, I think they're going to surprise the shit out of
I
everybody
do
this
too.
election, because the ones
too.
that I've come across, and not all of them, but the majority, there are enough that see what's happening and saying, bullshit, we're not going to take this anymore.
and they're really fucking smart.
Yeah. Yep.
They're smart. Not only smart, but they're angry
Yeah.
because they see the mess that we've left and they see where things are going, and yeah, we're gonna pay for this. If we don't do something to right the ship,
Yep.
they're gonna do it themselves, and they're gonna do it in a way that we're probably not gonna like very
Well,
much.
and that's why I'm nice to them, because they're the ones that are going to decide which home I go to.
That's what I was about to say.
I'm nice
I'm
to
gonna
them
put you
'cause
guys in a home.
I'm scared of my daughters. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm just saying.
Well,
I treat them with respect.
But you should be. You should be.
And they say the same thing.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm scared of you guys. Yeah, Dad, you should be.
the fact that they haven't killed us all in our sleep is amazing. I mean, that shows what kind of, you know.
That's why I keep my door closed. In there.
Yeah.
So at least I have some warning when they open it up. So.
So, as a representative of the millennial generation, you just made it under the wire, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I might be.
So,
the
with
first
with your
year of
peers,
my-
what do you think as far as do you think I'm full of crap, or do you think that maybe that
Yeah, we all think that.
yeah, well, I mean,
mean,
regarding
we
that
are-
issue.
Okay.
We're getting pissed off. We're definitely getting pissed off, and
Well, the thing is that
especially with everything that's happening now, and women losing all of their rights, and everybody being super racist. Like we don't like that, and I don't know where it's gonna go.
I got to tell you, I'm shocked at this new
it's
resurgence.
so weird.
No,
it's super
Racism, we've always had racism,
Right.
but I'm really shocked at this new resurgence of the male dominance, that they've got to start putting women down. And
oh yeah.
I-
But wait, look who's doing it. Guys in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right,
Did-
and it's
that
not going to be
picture-
for long that
Right.
you
Because
all
they're
get to
scared
make
shitless.
these
Right.
choices.
Well, I'm worried because I don't think like them, and I got a feeling I'm going to end up getting lumped in the same
Yeah, me too.
grouping with these idiots. But the perfect picture on Facebook with all those old big fat
Oh yeah,
white
like
guys
this is
voting on the abortions. Like
That
really?
city council, yeah, that made the abortion clinics illegal, and yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I think that shocked me more than anything else to see this new. We have to show we're men and we're dominant and we can do whatever we want to do, and we're going to tell women to have babies and we're going to tell women to do this and tell. I don't get it.
yeah. I mean that freaks me out for my daughter.
Yeah. How old's your daughter now?
She's 18,
Freaks me out
and
for all my daughters.
she's always wanted to be a mom. I think she's going to be a really good mom. I just want her to be able to have children with the person that she chooses.
Yeah.
I want her to have kids when she wants to have kids. And it's
And-
super scary to think that might not end up being her choice.
I have a question though. I mean, just out of curiosity, you guys really think that? Do you really think that could stand? I mean, if I was a woman and I got raped and I went and had an abortion because I'm not going to have that baby, I'm telling you that right now.
Right.
And they arrested me and put me in prison, man, I'd fight that shit all the way up to the
I-
Supreme
I-
Court. I would
had-
fucking embarrass these people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you asked me about this 5 years ago, or if you asked me about it 18 years ago, tried to tell me that this was going to be the direction that this ended up going, I never would have believed you.
I wouldn't have believed it.
I never would have believed you. It's insane.
That's what I'm
And
saying. I'm shocked by this resurgence. It's just like, where did this shit come from?
I had my daughter when I was 18.
Okay.
I made my choice. I didn't think.
But it was
right, exactly.
It was your choice.
Right, it was my choice.
And that's.
I went to, my senior year of high school, I went to 2 different schools. I went to my regular high school, and for part of the day, I would go to another school that was about a block away, that was for pregnant girls. And it was a little weird at that school. I was the only senior. The other girls were all younger. And
Whoa.
and a lot of the girls who'd been going there didn't manage to continue school. So I was the only 18-year-old. There was a 17-year-old. And that was that. I mean, I guess girls just weren't able to continue and finish school. It wasn't a high school. They were high schoolers, but there were also middle schoolers, and there was one girl who, at 9 years old, she was raped by her uncle, and her family made her continue with her pregnancy and keep the baby. And I didn't know her. We didn't obviously have any of the same classes. We might have, because the classes that I took there weren't my regular standard courses. It was like fetal development and something, and then I also had to work in the nursery. Everybody
Also
had
make you a better parent.
Everybody had like a shift in the nursery
that's
in
awesome.
order to be able to go there. She wasn't in my classes because she was so much younger, but I think she was probably about 10 when I went there, because she wasn't pregnant. She already had the baby.
Jesus Christ.
Like, this shit isn't made up. Like, these aren't hypothetical
Right.
issues.
No. And that's because we all know somebody that has been in a situation where, has either been raped, whether you realize it or not. You know somebody that's been raped or
And you're seeing more and more of the laws about rape are getting rolled back too.
Well,
Guys
so a guy comes in, the guy that robbed your house, okay? So now he shows up in court, and they say, okay, you have to let him live in that one bedroom over there. And I mean, basically, that's the same thing. Here this rapist now, he's committed a crime. He gets parental rights instead of being depubed or something. I just don't get how that's okay. I don't get, this is what I don't understand. Why the fuck aren't we all out in the streets?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. And 40% of the fucking population that think this shit's okay. That's what I don't
basically,
get.
if you're talking about an adult who's raping a 9-year-old and impregnating her, you're talking more of a pedophile.
Yeah.
So
But
it's not just
So
rape.
that's doubly right.
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, when it comes to pedophiles and when it comes to certain aspects of sex crimes, castrating them doesn't do anything. It might stop them producing semen, but
Right.
rape
It's a violent crime.
is more about power
Yeah.
than it is about sex.
Exactly.
So when I saw the Texas and some of these other states are talking about they're going to castrate these guys, you're not necessarily taking away the criminal behavior.
Right.
You're only taking away one aspect of that.
At
and
least
it-
whoever
and-
they violate can't get pregnant now.
Right. That's pretty much all you're doing.
Yeah.
But you're still not stopping him from being a criminal.
Right.
And you're still not stopping him from being a pedophile. So we're looking at this all wrong. I mean, when I look at all these rapists getting off, I mean, every day I see a new story. A rapist got off.
Yeah.
He got off. Woman, but they're still bitching about abortions. Oh, we're worried about abortions. Well, we've got so many kids that need to be adopted. We have so many kids living in poverty. When they start taking care of them,
okay. All of this talk about
if you don't want to take care of us, then how
you're going to force us to have a baby that you are going to refuse to take care of.
So there's been a lot of talk about the late trimester or pregnancies or abortions and all that shit. So you want to hear a statistic of all of the abortions that are done in this country? The ones that are done in the late trimester or final stages is 0.00002%. So that's out of
people are told what this
that's
is.
2 out of 10,000. That's 2 out of 10,000. Now.
And it's not an elective procedure.
No.
And it's not
this bullshit about the mom and the
is.
doctor wrap the baby up in a blanket and decide whether they're going to kill it or not.
Right.
Come on, man. And people believe that shit.
That wasn't even the word that they used. I think it was like executed or something.
Yeah.
And go on these women's Facebook pages, and you can scroll down and see their gender reveal party, that they were so excited about these babies. These aren't people who didn't want children.
Right. Yeah.
It's so frustrating just that people don't know
if you
what
think
this
about
is.
it logically, you take a woman who has carried a child for 9 months and then decided, fuck this.
Right.
After all you've been through. I mean, my wife went through it twice, and the miscarriage, but my wife went through it twice. And I know that in that last month, if anybody had said, we're going to kill this kid, no fucking way. Not only for what she went through, but for what I went through as well. So that kid was going to pay his dues. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't see it. And I think that we use these extreme cases, that you pull out of thin air that really are not meaningful, and try to use that as an example for everything else that's happening.
Well, the reason why it works is very simple. We talked last week about education and how they deliberately dumb down education because, obviously it's easier to control a population when they're stupid.
You bet.
And that's kind of what we've got.
That's what we're seeing.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that, it can work for and against you. It's a double-edged sword. Is that when you're not that smart, you know what you function on?
Emotion.
Feelings.
Yeah, feelings. Yeah.
And so that's why they bring up these things, because they want to get you fired up.
Mm-hmm.
They do these late
Who is
abortions.
Now we're getting down to the crux. Who is they?
Well,
No.
It's on both sides, and it goes all the way up. Because
but I asked that
churches.
question. I asked that question for a specific reason, because this is what supposedly the intervention by a foreign power in our election system. This is what the Russians supposedly did. Was they put out all of this information to drive you to feel a certain way,
right?
On both sides,
right?
So
Right.
that's why that's why I have so much respect for you, because I know that when you see and hear this shit, that you're in there digging to find out what's really going on. Where did this come from? A conservative newspaper. Well, which one? That kind of thing. Who
and you would think the average American will be up in arms about. I mean, really pissed off, because they used both sides.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all conservatives, and it wasn't all just the liberals. They put everybody to fight each other. They stoked race relations. They did everything to just fuck this country up. And you would think that the average American would say, you know what? It's not just that they interfered in our elections, but they really did something to this country to damage us
Yeah.
as a people. As
That's
a group
exactly
of people.
divide and
They
conquer.
divided us,
Right.
and we let them do it.
Yeah.
And
We helped them do it.
Yeah, and we should be pissed about that.
Right.
No. They don't want to get mad about that.
I do.
I do too. I'm more offended by that than
I'm mad
pretty
as
much
hell, and I'm
anything
not
else.
going to take it anymore.
I'm more offended by that than I am that Trump got elected, to be honest with you, because
But it's
they-
not.
because here's the thing, and the reason why is not only did they divide us as a country and we accepted it, but they made us look foolish to the rest of the world, and we accepted that.
Yeah.
And we are continually accepting all these negative images of us as people, which can't do anything but ruin what little self-esteem we got left. I mean, we're like on this downward slide, and we're seeing these things that are going on. We're saying, well, you know, it's all right,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
It's our
I
country, we'll
posted.
fix it
I posted
somewhere.
something on my. I keep getting accused on my Facebook page of being a Democrat, and I don't care if they call me that. I don't care. I'm actually nonpartisan, but I posted something about the 17 or 33 Democrats in Congress who were accepting money from Big Pharma, and in exchange for they were voting a certain way on lowering prescription costs and stuff like that because they're making money at it.
Right.
So I posted something about that and called them out, you know, and so one particular person he you know, I can't believe you finally realized what's going on, you know. And I'm going, dude, you know, I post all this shit about the right and the left. You know, it's not. I'm not a. I guess what irritates me most.
You're critical.
Right.
You're a critical
It's not.
thinker,
It's not. I'm not going to
and-
follow the party line just because it's the party line.
Right.
Fuck that. You know, we need to start thinking for ourselves. We need to start saying, wait a minute. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say. This is what's right. This is what we should be doing. This is where we should be going. And you and you and you and you should be focusing on that. You know, what the hell? This is. Never mind.
I think
I
the one
just
big
can't.
thing that really bothers me is that we should be thinking about doing things for the greater good, but in the back of everybody's mind, whether they're conservative or liberal, it's always, I know it's good for the greater good. I know it better than you do.
Right.
And that's the way everybody in this country thinks now.
Well, okay. So I hear this argument about, you know, when I was growing up and getting an education, basically education was free. I mean, in junior college and college, I mean,
Right.
you know, you had to pay for your books and shit like that, but you weren't paying these
basically,
exorbitant amount, you know, in student loans so that you could get an education.
Right.
And then along comes somebody that says, hey, you know, I want to make education free. I want everybody in this country to get the best education they have, and they're not going to go into debt to get it. And then you got the people that say, well, wait a minute, I had to pay for mine, so they got to pay for theirs. So
I mean, it's doable.
that's a ridiculous argument.
Yeah.
I
You know-
went to school in New Mexico, and they started a lottery. They started doing like scratcher tickets and all of that. They made the lottery system legal, and what the lottery had to do was give scholarships. So anyone who basically finished high school in New Mexico with high enough grades, you were covered. It's doable.
It's
Well,
always been doable. It's not. Here's what
There's a whole
annoys me.
shitload of money over here that we're wasting that we could put over here. We could
Here's
put
what
on
annoys me.
healthcare. We could put on education.
Just
We could-
look at the facts. The facts are that rent for apartments, education, cars, everything has gone up.
Right.
What has not gone up?
Wages.
Minimum wage.
Right. And
I mean,
and people keep saying, well, if you raise the minimum wage, the prices are going up. Wait a minute, we haven't raised the minimum wage, and the prices still keep
They
going
still
up.
went up.
So, Where's that money going?
I mean, I think that could be a complete disaster. But at the end of the day, we're just printing money anyway. Like, what is it?
Well, we wouldn't have to print money if we'd get out of these fucking wars and we would start taxing
Or take
the
less golf
corporations.
trips.
I mean, dude, I
Also
cannot believe
definitely
Amazon
that,
didn't have to pay any taxes.
Yeah.
I,
And they're not alone. I mean,
I just,
they're one
I'm
of
just
many.
stunned by this.
Yeah,
And everybody thinks it's okay.
right.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, yeah, we got to wrap it up, guys. Any final thoughts or words or
I don't have
gotcha?
thoughts.
Hey, look.
But you
Yeah, I
just,
have a thought.
yes, sir.
I do have a thought.
I'm not going to say nothing.
This is my one thought for today.
Okay.
Listen to people. You don't have to agree with them. Just listen to what they have to say. Talk. Figure shit out. But we can't keep going like this.
Yeah.
You listen to me, you listen to me, you listen to my side. I'm right. This is bullshit.
And if you don't agree with me, we're going to start a revolution.
Yeah.
I love it. So anyway,
I don't have that much energy for that shit.
For revolution.
Yeah.
dude, I do. I'll find the energy. If it comes down to that, fucking A, Skippy.
I think there's some Red Bull in the fridge.
What did you say?
I think there's some Red Bull out there.
There's some energy drinks. We could go hit the streets as soon as it cools off a little bit.
No, this is my revolution coach. She's, we got this worked out,
got
man.
it. We got it. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, like I said, thanks again, everybody. I don't know about you, but we had fun. I always go away from our discussions with some additional information I didn't have before and a little better understanding of what the hell we're doing here. So, anyway, thank you, guys.